But if anybody is interested in running this game, where can we find you? Where can we find a possible Discord?
So you can find me on twitch.tv/Schmumbler. You can also find me at twitter.com/Schmumbler. I do a lot of the DreadX collection.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for sticking around until the end. As they say, they save the worst for last, which is Winback Covert Operations. But I trust you, it won't be that bad, even though it's part of the theme of horrible games 2022. You may have seen me run Metal Gear MSX for Summer Games Done Quick 2022 earlier this year. I primarily speedrun Metal Gear games, but on occasion, I do also speedrun this game, Winback Covert Operations, on both the Nintendo Switch as well as the PS2 port on the PS3. I will be running Easy Any %, which is the fastest category. I'll be going through the entire game. I'll explain as I go, as I know I'm eager to get going. So time will start once I select story, which will be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so long story short, when it comes to Winback, bad guys named the Crying Lions take over this secret control facility, which has a superpowered satellite. We're sent in to take it back from them. So, first thing we're going to be doing is ignoring most of the guards in the game. But what I'm going to do is pick up a ammo pouch, which I'm going to need for the rest of the game. Even though the main weapons I'm using are the 45 caliber pistol, which has a 15 round magazine. Oh, I guess these guys were eager to hear me explain about the different types of weapons I'll be beating them with. So there's the pistol, which has infinite ammo. It's probably the most commonly used weapon that I'm going to be using. Next is the SMG with a 30 round magazine, good for long range, and the 12 gauge shotgun. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit safe just by taking this guy out in the distance, so he's not going to get in the way of what I'm about to do. So I'm technically in stage 1, and what I'm going to try to do is clip into stage 2 by spamming going into cover on this angle here. And I'm in stage 2. Because normally you're not supposed to be here while you're in stage 1. As a matter of fact, I mean, nothing's even loaded yet over here. You can open the door. So what we're going to do is enter through this door here, because if you go through the building on the other side, it'll actually crash. The game doesn't know what to do when you're entering through that door, which I'm still technically stage 1, if I hadn't said it already. And it's gradually loading in assets from stage 2. So what we have to do now is go through this room, and we're trying to get to a different part of the game where it has a key, which allows us to officially go into stage 3. So again, I'm just taking things safe. What we're gonna do is press on this panel twice to get this conveyor belt moving, so I can open the sensor which I'm trying to shoot. Yeah, these guys are being a little uncooperative, but that's not unusual when it comes to this game. If I didn't explain before in the beginning, but Winback was originally released for the N64 back in 1999. It was later remade and ported over to the PS2 about a few years later. And I'm playing the Nintendo Switch version, which is a slightly enhanced version of the N64 game. It just runs at a better frame rate than the original N64 title. So what I'm going to do is set up a very difficult laser skip. And if I did it right, and I did, doing that laser skip saves you at least probably like a minute and a half of game time, rather than having to double back through the building, go up through the roof, and then evade the lasers differently. What that laser skip, which I'll be doing plenty of those throughout the game, what makes it possible is it's taking advantage of iframes from when you're shot from behind, and it does this fall-through animation. And that fall-through animation gives you just the right amount of window of iframes to be able to fall through and then come out safely the other end. It's very precise based on the setup. So if you're just too far away, you won't even fall through the lasers at all. You'll fall short. If you're too close, you'll basically fall on top of the laser and die instantly. We don't want that. So now that we got the key, we're just gonna go back through this building again. And again, I'm just ignoring most of the guards as I can. Some I have to deal with. Like in this case, I'm just gonna shoot them to kind of stun them for a moment. As you can tell, every time I get shot, I get stunned or get knocked over, and the same applies to the guards. So at times you may see me shoot a guard briefly just to kind of stun them for a second. It's just enough to kind of just get by them without really having to fully commit to, you know, encountering them, which in this case here, I'm gonna clear this area out. Okay, I don't need to use the shotgun just yet. I'm clearing this area out intentionally so I can get access to the C4 explosives here, which is gonna be part of the next part of skips that are available on N64 version of Winback, including the Switch version, which is going to be going for out of bounds and also clipping through gaps where you're not normally supposed to be. So we're on stage 3, and again, I'm just going to set up for a laser skip here, if I did it right, and I did. Thankfully, I did. I get nervous every time I do it. It's very sensitive when it fails. So what I'm going to do here is plant the C4, go into cover against this vehicle, release, and if I did it right, which I did, I am now technically out of bounds going inside this perimeter, and I'm just holding inside so I stay out of bounds until I can squeak back out, come out the other end, and that saves you several minutes of having to actually deal with that level. So we're up against our first boss, which is Leela. Casually speaking, this is probably one of the harder bosses to deal with early in the game. You know, she has a machine gun for a weapon, shoots really fast, she gets very, you know, mobile, so it's very annoying to kind of really lock her down to any kind of coverable position. So what we're going to do is attack, evade, and then rinse and repeat. Yes, very, very, very dramatic, Leela. So as you can tell, every time you attack a boss, their counterattack will always be like an auto-fire of something. And every time you trigger that, their shots will trail behind you, which is why I have like the target box on them. So every time I attack, I try to evade, and then the shots will trail behind me. And it's very, you know, it's very easy to manipulate that, so it's used a lot throughout the majority of the boss fights in the run. And yeah, I'm just relieved that I got 2 of those skips out of the way. There's still plenty more to do, but there's nothing more dreadful than trying to get a run started where you got all these really hard skips you got to deal with early on in the game, which is one of the things I haven't talked about yet, is my history with running Winback. Like I said before, I speedrun primarily Metal Gear games. Metal Gear MSX, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, MGS 1 through 4, take your pick. I probably speedran it. Not all of them, but, you know, most of them. And it was speedrunning MGS 2 one day that a question was posed to me about what games did I play growing up. And of course I said, yeah, MGS2 Sons of Liberty on my brother's PS2. And of course I was asked further, like, well, what other games did you play? And I was trying to remember what the name of this one was. I described it saying, yeah, it was a game on the N64 where you can go into cover, had a laser sight, you had these weapons. Guards would kind of yell at you most of the time, and they said, oh, you must be Winback, right? And it's like, yeah, that game. And of course, after that stream, I went and looked it up to see if I had ways to play it still, and surely enough, there was a digital copy on the PSN store for the PS3, which I was definitely happy about, so I was able to snag that to start learning how to run the game just to see if I would like it. And of course, over time, I really grew attached to it, and people really warmed up to the idea of me like streaming it. So what I'm gonna do here, well, other than get shot in the back, is we have to take out these 3 guards in order to actually end this stage. You can't just race to the corner and then be done with it as much as you want it to be. So I'm just going to use the shotgun here and hopefully get them all grouped up together, which unfortunately I didn't, but it's RNG if you get it or not. It's not a big deal. So yeah, like I said, it was just something that kind of came up as a topic of curiosity, and then I did some research as far as, you know, what game mediums were available, if there are any speedruns of it, and of course there was one by Daisy Fan for the PS3, the other by Bebop Bandit for the N64, and I just kind of took a little bit of both, mostly from Daisy Fan at the beginning, and just kind of put a, you know, rough draft of a run together, and over time I got it down to what was originally like, you know, it was like 148, I think it was, I had to beat for the PS3. And of course that brought my current competitor, Tiki Liger, who holds the world record for probably all the categories by now again. We've been trading world record in PS2 Winback as well as N64 Winback on the Switch when it was made available through Nintendo Switch Online last year on its library. And we probably traded records several times across both games, probably more on PS3 since that was out there longer than this one, but I definitely give credits to Tiki Liger for finding a lot of, you know, optimizations, some that were either known already and just shown to me, or perhaps some that were either discovered or rediscovered, since some were kind of hidden within ILs of running Winback, not necessarily like a full run like I'm doing. But definitely shout outs to Tiki Liger, since I do see them in the chat. I hope you're doing well, Tiki. Okay, so at this point, I'm just kind of going through one stage at a time, just only dealing with guards I need to. And then one neat thing about the doors, as you can tell, is I'm not really going into like the next rooms all the way, because the way that doors work in this game is that they'll remain open as long as you or a guard are still next to it. So there'll be times when I'm not really committing myself going into the next room because I don't want to have to reopen the door more than once. It's just a really minor optimization which can be very helpful in situations. In this case, not going into the next room all the way doesn't trigger a whole wave of guards at you, so it doesn't get in your way of trying to shoot out that laser sensor that I needed to take out. Okay, so now we're on this stage. This is probably one of the hardest stages early in the game because of the not only just length of things you gotta get through, but some of the skips that are involved, some that are higher risk than others. So what I'm gonna do here is kind of get set up for the first part of it. I'm just gonna shoot a round off to wake this guy up so he gets over here. And I'm gonna stay on this side of this box barricade here so you don't trigger this blue laser sensor. The red sensors are the lethal defensive traps. You touch it once, you're dead. The blue sensors are more trip-based, meaning they either trigger guards, it may trigger a red laser to activate. The blue laser's not a big deal, but if you can avoid some of them that are tied to guards, we definitely want to avoid those. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of hit this guy in the red outfit here, the one with the shotgun. What that's going to do is because he gets shot at, he's scripted to fall back to that corner over there. And I'm going to attempt another laser skip here on this corner. I'm just going to make sure I'm set up right. Oh, thank God I got it, because I despise that laser skip in the game. I mean, see? Even the guards are prone to their traps. I'm telling you, they're just demonstrating firsthand how deadly those things are. But, like I was saying, out of all the laser skips in the game, I probably hate that one the most because of how sensitive the setup is. Like I said, you can't be too far, too close. It's very easy to mess up. So at this point now, we have to collect bombs, and thankfully there's not too many of them. There's 5 bombs that the terrorists planted within this office complex in case things go bad. Per the story, we only find 3 of them. A few of our other teammates on the counter-terrorist group SCAT, which was deployed here to, you know, stop the terrorists and retake the control facility. So we only have to find 3 of them, you know, per the story, and then a few of our other teammates that Jean-Luc Cougar meets up with will find the others. Now, what I'm going to do here is not necessarily the faster way, but it's just very impressive if you get it in a marathon setting, so I'm going to try to go for it. It's where you go for this really precise shot on this sensor, which is on the other side of this broken shutter here. So I'm just going to tippy-toe my way forward. It's a very, very specific angle. And what you're waiting for is seeing like a red, like, crosshairs on this yellow box sensor here. Nope, a little bit more. This is definitely a Monka S moment. Okay, if I move any closer, I'm gonna get killed. Oh, there it is. Yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily faster, but since, you know, I'm doing this for a good cause, for you know, well entertaining, spooky marathon. If you do it really quick, it is a little bit faster, but the amount of effort it takes to get that shot without hitting the laser itself is, you know, why it's not really worth it in speedruns, but it is something cool. When I was told about, like, oh yeah, did you know you could shoot that sensor? And I tried it myself, and it's like, oh yeah, it is. It's just very difficult. So that red beep that you just heard on the sensor in the upper right corner of the game screen is the bomb sensor that I have to detect these bombs. So what I'm going to do is shoot out the sensor first. I'm not going to take out this guard because in some areas of the game, like I said, if you eliminate all the guards in the vicinity, it kind of triggers certain cutscenes or other guards to spawn, but by not taking them out, it doesn't do this like forced cutscene, which basically tells you to go into that other room to shoot out the sensor. So I'm just saving a lot of just, you know, unnecessary time loss from just game cutscenes. Okay, this guy just doesn't want to go down. Yeah, some of these guards are unusually tanky. Even on easy, it's something you just kind of have to put up with. It's not really understood why some guards go down easier than others. Alright, so this area here, you know, wow, I definitely don't remember all these boxes being in here when I ran through here in the beginning, so I'm just gonna play it safe and just blow them all up in advance. Because, when I walk back in and then trigger this cutscene, I don't know, man. I mean, they went through all this effort to put all this traps together, but they didn't notice that they all blew up yet. But basically, this guy right there, the one that I didn't take out, he runs back to the switch on that wall there, and he'll press it. And if the boxes are still upright and you're in the room, yeah, it's sayonara. You're not going to survive it. You just have to, you know, either take him out first or just blow up the boxes in advance and just make life easier. So that right there I just briefly skipped was 2 of the other teammates on SCAT, which are Lisa and Jake. They are finding the other bombs along with Jean-Luc here. Alright, so normally you would have to go around through the sewers again and then make your way back here. Instead, we're going to go into cover here, let go, and then we're going to run through this gap with the help of the C4. And it's going to push me through. That right there saves you probably another minute or so of just having to backtrack, go around, deal with guards. And it's something that's going to be used quite a bit again, along with skipping the lasers. Just, you know, creating these really neat opportunities for shortcuts. It's C4 skips are exclusive to N64 Winback. By the way, the laser skips work on both. Maybe the setups may vary due to level design alterations from one to the other. But C4 skips specifically only work on N64 just due to the way the cover mechanic works in this game. It's just something about like how it aligns you with the obstacle that you're going to into cover against relative to what you're next to. And so unfortunately it does not work on PS2 Winback, so it's a slightly longer run, but it's still taking advantage of some of the same tech that I've mentioned before about, you know, just, you know, dealing with guards briefly or evading them outright. Still using the same type of laser skips to finish stages faster. Yeah, sections like this, we're just kind of, you know, going from speedrunning mode into rail shooter mode, where we're just taking out guards that appear one after the other using their own turrets against them. Alright, so that right there, I'm just gonna stun them. If you try to run past a guard, often what will happen is they'll either punch or kick you, which will not only cost you a chunk of your health, but it just slows you down. Some other guards are armed with knives, and those hurt a lot, even on easy. They take, like, I don't know, a little over half your HP if you get stabbed by a guard. So gunshots are something we just deal with throughout the run. You'll get hit. At times we try not to, just because of the stagger effect it has. Okay, so we're just gonna take out this guard here with a nice little karate chop. Oh yeah, I got a little bit too close. There's some parts of the game where you can see how the camera just kind of changed on me drastically, where it's kind of changing it more to like a rail shooter. You know, we'll bypass most, if not all, of those. Okay, we're gonna take him out, shoot out that explosive box. Yeah, and that's the one other thing I didn't mention yet, is navigation. There is a map. You could just memorize how to, you know, route the game and just go from that, but one thing I meme about a lot with running Winback is the guards are very vocal, including things they say in terms of directions, such as over there, over here, this way. So when I tell people, when you get lost in Winback, which in my casual playthrough, I did get lost a lot, just listen to the guards. You know, because chances are they're going to lead you in the right direction. Including this guy that's very politely shooting me in the back, locking the door behind me, thinking, oh, wait, we got this guy. But instead, we're just going to take out all these guards, which including this guy who's just, I don't know, daydreaming, I guess. But what you don't want to do in here is blow up this tank. It'll disperse poisonous gas. It'll also do a cutscene, which loses you more time. Guards come in with gas masks on, so they'll be fine, but you'll slowly die. It just makes life harder. Alright, so we're coming up near the end here, and that is the end of that stage. So this would be another moment for any donations, messages, stuff like that, since I've now just realized I'm kind of far in without really giving myself a break, but this would be a good moment for that. Oops. Nope. Doors are tricky. Yeah, that was Tom, who is another SCAT member. He's trying to crack the computer to figure out a code to use an elevator that leads to one of the two main elevators that will grant access to the control facility that we're trying to get to. One is the express elevator, and the other is the freight elevator, which is in a different part of the facility here. So we're just grabbing more C4, and we're gonna stand right about here, and we're gonna shoot at that sensor. Alright, and again, the C4s are just going to be for further gap skips coming up in the run. Alright, so we're just going to stun lock that guard for a second so I can run through, hopefully without getting shot in the back. And before I go into the next boss fight here, I'm going to pick up this rocket launcher conveniently placed here. And our next boss fight is going to be Leon the Hunter. No, not Leon from Resident Evil. It's Leon that's wearing a, I don't know, purple outfit, using a shotgun. He's got two guards helping him, which I'll quickly you know, dispose of. And then instead of doing the evade method, like I was talking about before, I'm just gonna, I don't know, just kind of do the Pepe Jam method. I'll just wait for his iframes to, you know, run out and then just shoot him again. Yep, and that was Leon. Alright, so we get the third bomb. Then we get told that Jake and Lisa found the other 2 bombs, so terrorist bomb threat has been disposed of. And now we're just going to make our way back to where we were in the beginning, where there was that elevator with the button panel on the wall. So I'm going to use this rocket to blow up that box. Shoot that guy so he doesn't kick me. Yeah, this is one of the forced cutscenes that you can't skip. But I'm sure nothing bad happened when I was gone, right? Right? Oh, rip Tom. Yeah, Tom was assassinated. But just before he died, he wrote the passcode to the elevator on the floor with his blood. I know, it's very, very dramatic, very, it's very hard to take in. Like, we just saw him for a screen, and then we were gone fighting, and then we came back, and now he's gone. Which is another thing I don't think I talked about yet is, I guess it's more of like a did you know kind of a thing, is there's actually different endings to Winback. I know it might be hard to believe, but there's actually 3 endings. A third that I had no idea about, 2 that I was aware of. One which is the good ending, which is kind of you get by default by speedrunning, because it's based on the amount of time it takes you to reach the control facility, the control room. If you get there in less than 3 hours in-game time, not the RTA timer, but an in-game time, then you're qualified for the good ending, which basically determines which certain bosses you fight at the end of the game and which members of your team survives at the end of the operation. If you take too long, every 3 hours, the terrorists use the satellite weapon to destroy an important target, and having it being used more than once will qualify you for, you know, what's like the neutral ending, I guess. And if it's fired off twice, then it qualifies for the bad ending, which is basically, you know, most of your team that dies, you don't get to fight certain other bosses at the end of the game. It's really kind of a crummy ending. So lucky me, by speedrunning, you're basically going to get the good ending by default, just based on how long it takes you to get to the control center.
Hey, Joseph, do you have 1 quick second for a donation?
Absolutely.
We have a $50 donation from Wolfenstein that puts us at $1,150. We are currently only $25 away from the highest raised in one HIG event ever. So if you would like to help us smash the highest ever, do !donate or !D, and we can be able to pass that. Thank you.
Hey, chat, let's make it happen. We got plenty of Winback to go through to get that goal exceeded. So thank you for donating. Alright, so we're making our way back through this area since now we have the passcode to access the express elevator. Yeah, that guard right there, every time he is scripted to run into that laser beam. I kid you not. And as a matter of fact, that exact same guard on PS2 Winback does the same thing. He is just scripted to run into it. Like, maybe he's like new on the terrorist team and he sees an intruder. He's like, oh, don't worry guys, I got it. And then he just falls into it. Don't ask me. I mean, they left it in like that. I don't know, it's just more comical than, I don't know, remarkable than if anything else. I mean, just in case if you're wondering why Winback is a horrible game, well, I don't know, maybe that guy is a funny example of, you know, why it fits the bill. Alright, so right here is going to be the second C4 gap I'm going to be doing, which is going to be through that gap right there where I just shot against whatever that is. This fourth cutscene, I can't skip it. It's just basically telling you, yeah, you got to destroy these two sensors. Instead, we're not going to do that. I'm just going to carefully run through that one. It's a solid beam at first, but then it becomes intermittent once you go through that cutscene. So we're just going to plan it. Go into cover, run between the gaps, blow it up, and just like that, we're through. That one right there probably saves you probably like a good 45 seconds of having to, deal with it normally. It just saves you a lot of extra work. So our next fight is against Ryan, which he is guarding the express elevator, so they did not make it easy. His weapon of choice is the SMG, while he also throws grenades from time to time, and we're just basically gonna, make him throw out grenades, and then wait for his iframes to pass, and then just return fire. And that was Ryan. Of course, you might be thinking, well, that's it, right? You can get to the control center, you can save the day. Well, here's the thing. What you didn't see in the cutscene that I skipped at the end there is that Ryan decided, you know what? Since you beat me, I'm just gonna be a sore loser and then blow up the control panel to the express elevator with a grenade, which basically kills him and our chances of getting through the express elevator. So, unfortunately for me, we have to go to the freight elevator, which is in the factory section of this complex that we're in. And, again, just making life harder. This right here is just a fixed encounter. We're just waiting for these boxes to float across. I mean, how they exactly float across, I have no idea. But this is like a moment to kind of just chillax, do target practice. And something that I do on almost every run, which I'm also going to do here. Practice my smiley art. Oh, not too bad, actually. Man, if there was a way to either make this go faster or just somehow clip through the boxes, I mean, we would love to know. I mean, it'll just save us, I don't know how much time we're losing having to go through that section. Alright, just gonna take out that guy and then gonna make our way across. So again, this would be another good opportunity for any messages or pitches you have, since I'm just basically doing a lot of backtracking. Okay, so we're back up here on the other side of this double laser trap. I'm gonna shoot the sensor out. I'm gonna pick up one of these magazine clips. From before I picked up that ammunition pouch at the very beginning of the run, what that does is it expands my ammo reserves for my sub-weapons, the SMG and shotgun. By default, your max capacity for the SMG is 1 reserve clip. It goes up to 2. And for the shotgun, it's a maximum of 8 shells, and it goes up to 16. On the PS2 version of Winback, they made that better. It's kind of restrictive in this one, in my opinion. So on PS2 Winback, what they did is they made it so it's a higher tier value of getting ammo pouches. It just gives you more sub ammo for your other weapons. Even though ideally your all-around best weapon is the pistol. Don't have to collect ammo for it. It's got good lock-on range. Does decent enough damage for most situations. SMG has a higher lock-on range, although it does like less damage per second. The shotgun is kind of the weird weapon of the game. It's supposed to be good for close to mid-range combat, even though at times it sucks. It's just very inconsistent, including the shot pattern of the shotgun, which is a really wide spread. which is something they also fixed in PS2 Winback. Okay, I'm just gonna take out those guys, and that is the end of the office section of the game, which would be stage 13, even though it said stage 12, but you gotta keep in mind I skipped over a stage at the very beginning, doing that out of bounds clip on stage 1. Alright, next what I'm gonna do is another C4 glitch here. I'm gonna line myself up on the barrels just right, plant a C4, blow it up, and we just skip right through the barrels. Now this area is here natively, you just have to blow up these barrels if you were to go through the level as intended, but we use this alleyway here as a direct path to the exit. That one right there saves you several minutes of having to go through the stages for that area. This one right here, guess what? Yep, they love their explosive boxes, and as you can guess, there's not really very many hiding places you can go to without dying right away. Tiki did come up with a way to blow up the boxes in a really specific, like, you know, timing where you won't die right away and still be able to get through and then just grab a med kit on the other side. I kind of go with the strategy of take out the first two and just run like crazy before the other guards in the area start shooting. There is a pathway you can follow if you make it to the other side, where if you're in the left corner, should the boxes start going off, you won't at least die from it. You'll just get hit by one box instead of everything. Alright, so we need to grab this key here, and we're just using Jean-Luc's agility, if you will, to just bob and weave between the turret gunshots, and we're just gonna ignore that guard, grab the key. If you were to take that guard out of the turret, it would spawn in more guards, and then just, you know, makes you lose like, I don't know, like 5 or 8 seconds having to deal with them. So, next boss is Sergeant Thunder, whose weapon of choice is the flamethrower. So we're just gonna use their own obstacles against them while trying to stay away. Yeah, actually, he just did what I was about to mention, is what the flamethrower is very good at, other than hurting you, is it lags the game a lot. Multiple explosions, and his flamethrower will lag the game like crazy, especially if you get up too close. Boom. Alright, so that was Sergeant Thunder, and that is the end of that stage. Alright, so we're just gonna go in here, we're gonna turn on the power to that room we were just in, which is gonna activate power to those gondolas there. Oh yeah, that's right, I already got max magazines. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is shoot that explosive box. Opens up the pathway to this ladder here. Gonna take out these 2 guards. And then there's gonna be 2 more that'll spawn on that rooftop across the way there. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is what in my chat we would call Papega aiming, where I'm just missing by a lot on just about any run that I do that involves somewhat precise shooting. Which in this case here, I'm gonna aim at this sensor, which may be hard to see, but there is a sensor there. It's one of the weird anomalies in the game where some of the sensors you don't really need to see like a lock on in order to target it and destroy it. Some lasers can be shot at from outside optimum range, including this laser sensor, which you needed to line up against this wall and cover. Aim just off to the side. Camera's gonna spaz out a bit, so I apologize. That's a very precise shot, which is going to turn off the power to this door here, so you can actually open it without being shot. which gives us access to a key to leave this stage, and that shot right there saves probably, again, another couple minutes of having to go through this gondola / rail shooter. You would have to go through once, back, grab the key, and then cross over a third time. Again, this is another great opportunity for any donations or messages, because we're just going to play whack-a-mole of how quickly can they forget I'm here. Wasn't there a guy in that thing? Oh, wait, there he is. He's gone. Oh, wait, there he is again. Yeah, they have very short-term memory. It's not even just here, it's just universally, if you get spotted by a guard and you go into cover for, I don't know, like 5 or so seconds, they just sort of forget you're there, and they just lower their gun. I don't know why, I mean, it's... I mean, I guess they're trying their best, but... I don't know, it's just something I like to make fun of from time to time. So what I'm going to do here is run up against this container, aim the camera off to the side, which I got very quickly. If you run up against that container on an angle with the camera, it allows you to kind of be within range of grabbing the ladder, which saves you probably like a good 40-45 seconds, just doing that fast ladder grab. Alright, let's skip that cutscene. Yeah, this level that I'm going through here in the factory is probably one of the stages at this point of the game where it's very easy to get confused on where to go. Even though the guy just shouted over there. Because there's a lot of backtracking, which involves going across rooms. There's also a lot of vertical elements to it. So it can get a little confusing if you haven't played the game before. Oh, thank you, guy. Must have overheard me. So we're gonna send this container back. Use our own turret against them. And then it's gonna trigger these 2 guards to show up. Fun fact, sometimes when you go through that area, if you take out the guards just fast enough with the turret and you cross over that section, sometimes those guards won't appear at first. I'm not sure why it happens. It's kind of one of many things that this game does that just doesn't really make any sense when it comes to trigger points. It doesn't make them not appear at all. It just makes them appear like when you return to that spot later. It doesn't really save you any time. It's just kind of silly when it does it sometimes. There's even moments where I believe Tiki told me, like in one of his run descriptions for SRDC, where somehow he was able to go into a boss fight later in the run, which normally triggers a checkpoint, but he didn't get it. Doesn't break the game or anything, it's just, again, a strange thing that just tends to happen, and we don't really understand why. Okay, I was trying to snap onto that guard and quickly aim at the box, and I didn't quite do it right. Because what I'm doing up here is going across these series of conveyor belts to go down to shoot this sensor, which powers the electric circuit to the door exiting the stage. And we're just going to make our way back while hopefully dodging their gunfire, which is one of the things that's probably the most annoying to put up with in this run, is the fact that the guards on N64 Winback never have to reload their weapons, which is very unlucky for you as the runner. On PS2 Winback, they did fix that mechanic where they have to reload their guns just as much as you do, so it gives you a moment where, you know, they're not firing at you. But for the most part, it's just kind of variable RNG that you just put up with during the run. You know, just some crossfire you might get hit by, sometimes you will. Other times you won't. Sometimes it'll be really bad. Other times it's just a scratch. You know, in terms of damage taken. Otherwise, for the most part, optimizing the run to me is, you know, all about your control, movement, some little bit of luck when it comes to, you know, guard crossfire, as well as execution of the glitches I did so far with, you know, the laser skips and the C4 glitches. Alright, so that was the end of that stage, which is probably one of the longer factory stages. This one's really short. We're just gonna be going through these guards, up and over where that ladder is, and then there's another ladder we have to go down to actually exit. So we're gonna set off a chain reaction of barrels here, which is gonna take out the majority of the guards. Sometimes it'll get this guy that I had to shoot if I shoot late enough with the barrels. Not a big deal if you don't get them. Oh, thank you, guy. I'm telling you, you just don't need a map. Just listen to them. I mean, when they're not shooting at you, they're actually providing some very helpful guidance. Including this guy, which, and I'm just gonna give him a break by tapping him on the back. And in case it wasn't already obvious from the very beginning, I mean, this is not a stealth game by any means. Winback, in my view, was kind of a attempt of competing with Metal Gear Solid 1 since it came out a year after MGS1 in '98. It tried innovating things that the game didn't have quite back then, which was like the whole cover system and the shooting and laser target sighting, you know, freely. But it's far from a stealth game, let's face it. It's a very poorly attempted attempt of trying to compete with MGS1. But, I mean, it did have some good things it tried to do, maybe some not so well, but it's a fun run to do. Sharkcat, thank you for the raid. Also, GG's on your runs that you've done for the marathon. I did catch some of them. But it's greatly appreciated sending that love and support back here. Just in time for the finale run we've all been waiting for of Winback Covert Ops. So in this room, I gotta shoot out this mechanical lock. And of course, they're not gonna make things easy, so I'm just gonna stay right by this barrel for cover. There we go. So now the door's unlocked, so I can start activating these magnetic cranes, which are gonna lift these blue containers up in the air in cycles, so I can actually hope to run through in one cycle. It's very difficult if you try to go for it and you miss, because of the timing that's very delicate. So we're gonna go back in here with the door open now. Grab some more ammo for the SMG. Turn on the cranes. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is wait for this guard in green to get closer to that explosive box with the other two. It'll take all three of them out at once, so what I'm going to do is wait for this container to lift up. Okay, so I did get shot at by that guy that was laying down, so I'm not going to get it in one cycle. Thankfully, I can just kind of wait here for a bit. At least enough for this thing to lift up and I can just run through. If you get it in one cycle, you probably save like an extra like 6 seconds. It's probably more, you know, for like world record pace strats if you try to go for, you know, fast cycles like that. Okay, so this one, I'm just gonna try not to fight anybody. And I mean that because there are so many things in here that can really get me in trouble if I stick around for too long, including that barrel that's right next to me. Alright, and then I'm just gonna run around these guys, stay away from the explosive box in case they shoot at it. And we go up against our next boss, whose weapon of choice is the minigun. Nope, it's not Vulcan Raven, it's Duke. I know, of all boss names, I mean, Duke is something you probably wouldn't have expected. So we're gonna let him destroy the explosive boxes at the start so I can get through without, you know, getting blown up by them. And just like with Leela And Ryan, I'm just gonna attack and evade, since his shots will trail behind me. I always joke of whether if he's saying no or mo, like as he goes down. I kind of have the feeling he's saying mo. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's even worse on PS2 because on PS2, Winback, I said they added voice acting, which is not only to the main characters, including Jean-Luc, but also for all the cinematic cutscenes, but they added voice acting to the bosses. And some of the dialogue from them is hilariously bad. I'll just put it that way. No mo. Yeah, I could see that. Alright, so I'm just gonna take out these two. I think I had an extra C4. Yep. So we're gonna use that to blow up the boxes there. I'm gonna grab some extra shotgun shells. Okay, and I'm gonna grab a spare one. Never know when you might need it. Oh, so apparently I didn't plant it close enough. If you plant it close enough, you can actually blow up a whole, like, row of boxes so you can get through without having to, you know, stop. Okay, just gonna carefully not get stuck getting shot and then having a laser go over me and kill me. Because that's the thing, is even with iframes, unless if it's the fall-through animation, you will die from the lasers in one hit. You know, so lasers can both be a blessing, but mostly an annoyance. Wow, the shotgun was actually reliable for once. I never get that headshot on that guy like that. Because the spread pattern is so wide that at best it's maybe a close range weapon, which even then I have mixed feelings about it. Alright, just gonna clear through these guards. And yet go through another delicate trap that they got set up. Moving floating boxes, a laser trap in the background, and those guys on the higher ground. Now you might be thinking, well, it's over, Jean-Luc, they have the high ground. Well, little did they know. I could just either evade or tank the shots. And unfortunately for that guy down there, he's gonna get pushed right into the laser, which you'll hear in a second. I'm telling you, man, those lasers are no joke. Over there! Alright, so I'm gonna try to politely get this guy to move away from the ladder, which I did in good order. He doesn't like to move out of the way when you shoot at him. Those guys are just unusually tanky for some reason over other guards. So the next thing I gotta do is make that shot on that sensor, which will, again, allow us to leave the stage. Alright, so I'm gonna take out that box. As well as that red barrel right there for my way back here. Alright, pick up these conveniently placed magazines. So when I cross that barricade, I'll take out these 4 that spawn in. Ah, thanks, guy. See? Aren't they helpful? I mean, they're already telling me, oh, laser sensor, over there. Kinda makes me wonder if other games I played back then would have had that same kind of, you know, helpful element. You know, it was either, you know, either have the guide or know someone with a guide, or that same someone, possibly a friend, that could maybe tell you how they beat something in a game that they played. Yeah, because back in those days, there was no internet, there was no review guides or anything of that sort.
Over here!
Oh, okay, I'm not sure why I locked onto that guy like that. That was interesting. Alright, so with the sensor shot out, I'm gonna make this run back here, which I refer to as the Monka S rush, because it's just guards shooting at me from every direction. I'm trying to run through it up. Preferably getting shot too many times while trying to open this door, which is very scary because for some reason, opening some doors of this game doesn't really give you any iframes at all, so they can shoot at you while you're trying to open it. Sometimes I've had runs die trying to open that door because I'm just repeatedly getting stun locked trying to open it. And a death on that spot in that area is basically a reset because the checkpoint was when you started that section. So if you were to die at any point before exiting the stage, you would basically have to do that section over, which in a PB world record attempt is a rip run. You know, it's just like 3-4 minutes time loss at least. Oops. Okay, I didn't move quite enough over, but that's alright. There's a certain line you can take to trigger that turret without having to do that double back loop that I just did, but basically what I was trying to do is get the turret to move, so when he starts firing again, the shots are trailing behind me. And same thing with this one. Of course, it's very funny when they do these like camera changes where it's like, okay, you got two choices. Deal with the guy with the turret, or go over there. Hey, man. You don't have to tell me. Alright, so I'm gonna take out that guard only, as well as that box, so I can just run through easily. Alright, so we're entering this parking garage where the freight elevator is located. You know, it was one of those two main elevators I was talking about from before. And if these guards can, I don't know, be a pal and let me know if the elevator's over there. Well, whatever it is, it's free. Yep, but that is indeed the freight elevator. And leading into our next boss fight, which is against Gunt, the I don't know, thick guy, using a rocket launcher which has homing rockets, which are... Okay, I'm glad I proved my point about how deadly that is. Unfortunately, I didn't really get off to a good start with him. One of the rockets that splashed against either the floor or the wall hit me while trying to set up the fight. So I'm gonna try it again. Alright, there we go. So what I'm trying to do is kind of do the same thing as I did with the other bosses, kind of bait out a series of shots, which in this case is him basically repeating the same 4 shots that he's doing with the rockets. Oh, wow, okay. I was really kind of hoping I'd get a break, since he was so low on HP, and he had other things to say about it. Alright, third time's the charm. Alright, so same thing again. I'm just gonna attack him. He always sweeps from right to left, you know, as you can see, and he just repeats the attack over and over. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that ends that stage, and we now officially entered the control center section of the run, which is stage 24. So at this point, I believe as long as you made it to this part of the game, if not perhaps further ahead, that's where I think the game recognizes that you're qualified for the good ending. I might be wrong on that. I think it's somewhere further up ahead. There's an actual section of the game where you need to reach it by less than 3 hours. But basically at this point, we're already like on the roadmap to the good ending. Because like I said, by the time you get here, it's usually under an hour. By the time you reach, you know, this part of the run.
Over there!
Oh, thanks, guy. I think he said, "Roar!" Yeah, that seems right. Alright, so we're just gonna hopefully try to go past this guy without getting shot in the back. Use that container block there to shield me from incoming fire. While I open up this door to get a checkpoint. Okay, they are not being nice. Yeah, most of the time when I deal with the guards, you'll notice that I tend to go for headshots. Most of the time, it's mostly an insta-kill. There are some funny exceptions to that, depending on what weapon you use, but... I forgot how I was gonna say it, but like, spam firing, I guess you could say, when you just, you know, aim centered, target lock, can suffice some of the time, but other times, you know, you do want to favor the headshot. Just, you know, it takes more time taking them out. Shut out that sensor there so I could advance to the last part of this stage, while using that same tech about, you know, leaving the door open by not, you know, crossing all the way over. You know, just kind of leaving a step or two to be able to target the sensor and then just quickly turn around. And thankfully, it was also in my favor there for leaving the door open, because I got shot. So, lucky me. Yo, guy, do backflip. Aw, no backflip. Yeah, sometimes the guards that are, like, dressed up in the black outfit, when you take them out, they do, like, these really funny, like, acrobatic backflips when they're, you know, when they're killed. It's... Well, excuse me, I mean, he was blocking the door. I did not mean to do that, by the way. I wasn't trying to be funny there. It's... opening doors and kicking guards are bound to the same button, so when I'm trying to spam to get through the door and I'm just ending up kicking a guard, that's why. Funny enough, melees, when attacking a guard, like, up front, don't really do a whole lot for you in terms of damage. They fixed it in PS2 where it does a little bit more, but most of the time, karate chops to the back are instant. Kicks are just purely for memes. You know, they don't really do a whole lot for you. It does a lot more for them than it does for you, let's put it that way. Alright, so here's a neat little time save that I only found out about recently. I don't know if this is particularly new, but I noticed it in one of Tiki Liger's runs, where you line up against this wall here, aim against the sensor, and it saves you a lot of back and forth having to take out the laser sensor a different way. And yet another auto-scroller section, so if you got any messages and stuff like that, this would be a great time for it, because I have to wait for these containers to drop one by one. Shoot that barrel out. Okay, that's weird why those guys are still there. Sometimes they'll actually run up to the corner as I blow up that barrel. Not a big deal. So right here, I'm triggering a guard encounter on purpose. It's something that I kind of figured out on accident one day. Where I went the wrong way during a run by mistake, triggered those two. And when I came back, they were gone. It's one of these funny things where some guards will just literally disappear out of thin air, you know, when you transition from one part of the stage to the next. Some guards will stay in the area. But other ones like those two just vanish when you come back. Don't ask me why, it's just, I don't know, how they program the game. Alright, so we move that container up. So I can exit this part of the section. And yeah, one thing you probably may have noticed as well is that the lower my health bar is, when it goes from green to yellow to red, the music changes. You know, so green bar is usually default music for the stages. Yellow bar is considered caution, and then red is critical. And it just makes the tempo of the music kick up. Which, honestly, despite some of the clunky elements of the game, I do really think the soundtrack is, you know, underratedly good. You know, so much that I prefer the N64 soundtrack of this game over PS2 Winback. Just from how they did it originally. They did keep, like, the same melodies and stuff from the PS2 port remake. But I don't know, there's just something about the N64 soundtrack that really kind of hit it home for me. Okay, these guys are not cooperating with me at all. So I'm just gonna take my time and pick them apart one at a time. Alright, so remember that rocket launcher that I got earlier, besides blowing up that box? We're gonna use it against that turret. This guy thinks he's got me stuck here. Yeah, that shortcut using the rocket launcher saves you a lot of time in that area I just went through. It's a lot of going through, activating containers, disabling a laser trap, activating a container to be lifted up and then dropped on top of the turret, which takes a while, but it saves you a lot of headache. As well as another defensive fortification later on in the game, for the same reasons. It's just to take out those turret and the turret fortifications. Alright, so I'm gonna take out this guy and this guy. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to run through, and we're going to go up to the next part of the stage, which is through this upper container section. So we're going to start moving these containers over. Also taking out these guards. It's actually one of the rare times in the game where I actually try to favor the corner cover. A lot of times you may see that I kind of shoot out in the open, but there are certain points of the game where it is nice to kind of use the environment to your advantage. Oh, I didn't get it. Yeah, that's a little shortcut you can take there. Not only to cross the corner before the container closes it off, but if you're really quick enough, you can actually race right in between where those two guards were and go down the ladder into the last part of the stage. Probably loses you probably like 40-45 seconds, maybe closer to a minute with what's going on here with these guys really being annoying. Yeah, like I said, some of them are just unusually tanky, but then again, I usually run past most of them. Oh, hold up. Yeah, so this was the ladder I was talking about. If you were able to weave through the gunfire quickly enough, you can go directly to here. Alright, so that terminal there is gonna unlock these doors that had like that red light on it, which turns blue. And it's gonna actually unlock the door so I can exit the stage. Okay, these guys are... I don't know. Some runs, they're unusually aggressive. And sometimes what gets to me is I tell myself this is still on easy. And some of these guys just don't seem to... They don't seem to care what difficulty you're on. They just want to give you a hard time. So this is the next boss fight, which is one of my personal favorites because of the dialogue at the end when you defeat them, which is Banderas. Room is rigged with explosive barrels, which I roll past the first sensor, so I don't trigger the barrels to blow up. His weapon of choice are dual SMGs. And once you get him down to half health, guards spawn in, they blow up to the trap I just avoided. And we're gonna do the same thing with, you know, attack and evade. Wait for it. On the PS2 version, he actually says the dialogue of what he's saying. You know, where he's like, what the hell is happening? This sucks. It really sucks. Like, yeah, man, dying sucks. I know. But the N64 Banderas is just as goofy. Oh, hey! Yeah, that guy was being not so nice there. Alright, so you might be wondering, well, you've just been through here, why come back? Okay, this is actually not a good spot to be in with my HP, with what's coming up. So I may have to defer to a medkit that's not too out of my way. But at this point, I don't think I have a choice because I don't have the HP to survive a laser skip. Okay, I'm just gonna try to evade these guys as best I can, praying I don't get hit. Okay, there's my checkpoint, thank goodness. Alright, so the med kit is in here. Okay, I can't remember which box it was in. I think it was this one. Ah, my memory serves me well. Again, you wouldn't normally have to do this. This is just so I can keep the run going. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is take out the shotgun guy first. Beat that guy up. And I'm gonna set myself up for a laser skip, hopefully. And I got it. Doing that laser skip right there saves you a lot of time. It beats having to do this really lengthy backtrack where you came in through the control center the first time around. So again, shout out to Tiki Liger for figuring out that laser skip right there. Leading up to our next boss fight, Jin, who moves really fast, uses a pistol, that hurts a lot, and sometimes throws an explosive dart, and has the world's best laugh. Oh, come on, don't do this to me, Jin. He's by far one of the goofiest bosses in the game. But he's also one of the most annoying because of how quickly he moves around. So ideally you want to try to keep him contained as best you can without him, you know, going around the corners too much. But I just love him for his laughter. You know, chat always seems to like it during a run. Because sometimes if you get really lucky, he'll just do it repeatedly. Every time you attack him, and that's his counter. Is, you know, throwing an explosive dart while maniacally laughing back at you. Alright, so at this point, I reactivated power to an elevator that I need to advance to the last part of the game. And I'm just backtracking through here, you know, which is where I just fought Jin just now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like I said, some of them are just unusually resistant, you know, when trying to shoot them down. Alright, fine, stay in your corner. I mean, he doesn't usually do that, so hey, I'll take the opportunity. Okay, this area right here is a little scary. Because this guy right here... Okay, thankfully I got shot first, giving me iframes, because sometimes what could happen if you try to rush that ladder is that guard that's closest to you will just start kicking you. So you can't climb up board the ladder, and every time you're damaged with iframes, you can't interact with anything. So you're basically locked out from trying to climb up or open doors. And it's a very easy way to lose a lot of time over something that really takes a few seconds to get by normally, but you end up losing like 10, 20, 30 seconds, depending on how bad it really is. That guy, including that one in the corner there. Oh, the nerve of that guy telling me to stop in the middle of a run for charity. Are you crazy? Nah, he always says that. So it may look like I'm coming through here again, because I am. Except the end destination's gonna be a little different. There was a pathway that's now open because of a container I just lifted up when I turned the power back on here. Alright, thankfully this section's easier to make this shortcut I was explaining about earlier because there's no guards posted up there this time. So now when I cut through here, instead of going off to the right, we're going to go off through the left because this container was blocking it before. Okay, I'm just going to stagger him. Roll through. I got lucky and didn't get shot. I'm gonna politely get that guy to move by just shooting at him while also trying to kick me climbing down the ladder. Okay, I'm gonna take out... Okay, that's unlucky. Sometimes, depending on where that guy in blue is, he could leave the door open. You know, so you either don't have to take him out entirely, or maybe you can just kind of, you know, squeak by him. It's RNG. Okay, now we got a whole bunch of guards posted up here, including that guy in the back who won't go down. Yeah, sometimes you can get really lucky with the shotgun and get multiple guards down at once, whether if it's from a headshot or not. But a lot of other times, I don't know, kind of question the output of the weapon, like it just throws BB bullets at them instead of actual shotgun shells. So that section right there, all you gotta do is just hug the inside corners and run directly to the door. Don't stop for anything. And we make our way up through the elevator into the next stage. Once again, the guards being ever so helpful, just immediately directing me where to go. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I try to think of a game where I get that kind of help from enemy guards. And honestly, I really can't think of anything. At least not to that level of helpfulness, you know, in terms of, you know, figuring out where to go and stuff. Okay, so this fight you only get coming up here is when you're on the good ending, which is Death Mask. His weapon of choice are dual pistols. But first we're going to deal with 2 of the other guards in here, which are more of an annoyance than anything else. And Deathmask here ain't exactly too bright because he decided to take cover in a corner with barrels all piled up there. Shoot the barrels, it takes at least half his HP away, and you just take turns shooting at him. Sounded kind of spooky. Alright, so in the context of the story where we're at, we're on the path for the good ending. The leader of the terrorists kind of gets, you know, betrayed by the one that was really in charge of the guards, Cecil, who is a Liquid lookalike, and I'll explain why later when we go to fight him at the end of the game. So basically, Cecil betrays Kenneth, who's the leader of the Crying Lions terrorist organization. Cecil gains control of the satellite for his own means. And then Lisa gets captured by the enemy, but just, you know, for... but she's left alive more as a, you know, as a, what you call, like a lure to get Jean-Luc to, you know, approach in. And basically, we're on our way to the end game while also tasked with going to save Lisa. But first, we gotta wait for that guy to run around, so it triggers this cutscene, so I can turn around, take him out, and the sensor, as well as these two, because they will shoot me trying to use this terminal if I don't take them out. So it opens up those doors and some of the shutters there. Okay, and we're just gonna go right back through. Oops. Really bad case of Papega aim there, but it happens. Okay, I think I'm good on HP, so I'll just get that med kit in the corner. Alright, so we kind of just went full circle. Because that door off to the right was where I fought Deathmask, just in the last stage. But we're now just gaining access to, you know, other parts of the facility here. It's like, hey, fellas, do you know the way? I guess they didn't know, but apparently it's free. Wondering why I'm even referencing that. It's a funny quirk in the game where whenever they say freeze, you don't really hear the other half of the word, so a lot of times they are saying free, free. Which again wouldn't really make any sense, but then again, some things on Winback don't make entirely sense at all. Hey, there's that backflip. Alright, so I'm just gonna pick up some spare ammo. I'm gonna stagger this guard, otherwise he will stab me if I don't do anything. When he's running down as I'm trying to run through. Woo! Okay, that was very monk-ass. Yeah, sometimes I get shot at when trying to leave that room, but usually not that badly. I'm actually going to take it a little bit safe until I reach the next area with a checkpoint, which is coming up. Alright, so, once again, they just love their use of defensive turrets, barrels. I mean, surely nothing will go wrong there. I mean, you gotta put the barrel somewhere, right? So we're just gonna spray some shotgun shells, maybe hoping to get lucky and shoot one of the barrels that's in the distance. But in actuality, all you really need to do, well, other than getting rid of that guard, is if you aim at a gap right about there. There we go. Yeah, so there's a very small gap in the middle. Sometimes you can get really lucky with the shotgun and one of the shells will just hit that spot. It doesn't have to be in the middle exactly, it's just anywhere where there's a barrel exposed. And I'm just gonna pick up some more spare ammo. Maybe the guards are reminding you the ammunition for the pistol is free. That's right. That is a very important thing to know. Alright, so we now saved Lisa. Yep, there she is. Yeah, don't worry, she's fine, she's just sleeping. But again, per the context of the story, you know, after we, you know, made sure Lisa was alright, she then tells Jean-Luc that, you know, the commander of the SCAT team, the counterterrorist group that was sent in, the leader was the one that actually was the traitor. Because earlier we saw, you know, Tom get killed, and then there was another one that was assassinated in the same fashion. And Lisa was telling Jean-Luc that Commander Dan was the one responsible, and he also left a message for her to tell Jean-Luc to say that he was going to be waiting for him in the control room. But more on that later. So again, we're just going to use the rocket to take out that turret back there. Uh-oh. Okay, that wasn't what I had in mind, but thankfully I do have a spare. Yeah, I think I shot a bit off too far to the right. There is a way to deal with him that doesn't involve the rocket launcher. You would have to get closer and blow up that barrel in the back, but that takes way too long. Yeah, so basically the rocket launcher, for the most part, is taking out, you know, in my mind, 2 defensive turrets that are hard to take out conventionally. Otherwise, clearing blockades like boxes, and a 4th round really just for whatever you need it for. But at this point, the rocket launcher is, well, obviously out of my inventory because it's limited. But at this point, the rocket launcher doesn't really have a purpose at this point anymore in this point of the run. So we're coming up near the end of this infamous stage 30. I like to argue that the end game boss is actually this stage, not the other 2 bosses that are coming up. Because stage 30 is by far the longest and probably the most infuriating stage to have to get through. A lot of hopeful runs I've had have died here. I've had miracles happen on stage 30 by saving runs here, but let's just say when it comes to running Winback and you come across stage 30, chances are you're probably not going to like it at some point or another. You'll come to that realization how nasty of a place it could be. So what I'm going to set up for is the final laser skip of the run. Try take out a few guards here. So what I'm going to do is take out this guard only. Okay, I didn't do it fast enough, so I'm just doing it a little bit slower. I'm going to leave that guard up. Set up for a laser skip right there, and I got it. Very nice. Alright, we're all done with laser skips. Now we just gotta fight our way across this room, which is not entirely fun, but thankfully we got plenty of sub-ammo with our weapons to deal with at least some of them. Alright, so I was waiting for a C4 thing to go off before crossing over, because sometimes the splash damage can really reach you in, you know, even if you're in cover behind something. It's really silly. Yeah, remember when I said that the shotgun spread is really unreliable? Well, I don't know, that's part of it, but then again, I'm too close to that corner anyway. Alright, so I gotta shoot out a sensor, which is in a really obscure corner. Oh yeah, fun fact, that elevator right there, the one that says B1, that is actually the other end of the express elevator that was destroyed earlier by Ryan. So, thanks, Ryan. Alright, coming up to the end of the run, finally. Got 2 boss fights. One against Commander Dan, and the other by Cecil. So, we're just gonna take shots at him while shooting these barrels to do extra damage. Also jamming out to the Winback theme in the background. Gonna shoot one more barrel here. And then another headshot or 2 should do the job. Alright, normally I would go through this cutscene and do this whole dramatic buildup of why, you know, he betrayed the unit and play an audio clip of the PS2 moment of that cutscene, but for the interest of the marathon, I'm just gonna keep things moving along, and honestly, it's only really best on PS2. So for Cecil, we're just gonna take cover, shoot out one of the 2 sensors. Time is gonna end when he is dead, which is right now. Whew! Boy, what a somewhat decent run. Which I was keeping splits up during my run, and it was definitely not PV pace because of the 2 deaths I had on gun at the end on stage 23, but it was almost sub 130 on my end. I'm not sure what the marathon timer has, but that is Winback on N64 via the Nintendo Switch. Just want to thank everyone in the chat that's watching. Oh, is the timer still running?
It was a couple of seconds late, my bad.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I had a 129.51 on my end. I'm not sure how it exactly started, but it's okay if it's not on it. But yeah, like I was saying, I just want to thank everyone that was watching the stream, everyone that's donated. Kuno, I want to thank you for messaging me a while back, you know, kind of probing for interest about wanting to participate again, and I'm glad that I responded in kind. Want to give shout-outs to Tiki Liger for pushing this game down to where it is today across multiple versions, as well as Daisy Fans Run for giving me inspiration to even get involved in running the game. And of course, to all the organizers and tech crew behind the scenes managing this event throughout the weekend. You guys are awesome. And of course, anyone from the MGSR community or from my own community watching this stream, thank you guys so much. Hopefully I did you guys proud with this run. And yeah, that's really it. It's definitely later in the day than I'm used to, but I'm glad I did it for a good cause, for a good charity, and for all you awesome people watching. And in case you liked my run, feel free to follow my stream at twitch.tv/Josephjoestar316. I am set to be running Ground Zeroes for HGDQ 2023 coming up in January next year. So look forward to that. Otherwise, a lot of awesome people ran in this event, and glad I was able to be a part of it. And thanks for having me again.
We appreciate you running again. It was a really enjoyable run to listen to and watch.
Also, shoutouts to the Mario Club. It's only on this set of credits in the game. But no, that's just for memes. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to run it again. I believe I did this in the past for PS2 Winback and MGS4 for a meme run. But it's fun to be able to do these kind of things. And The runs have changed a lot year over year, and I'm happy I was able to, do this once again. But thank you all so much. If you ever want to get involved in running Winback, feel free to check out our runs on speedrun.com for Winback. You could, possibly run the Switch version available through Switch Online. If you have a PS2 lying around, you could play the port. If you have a PS3, you could play the digital copy of the PS2 Winback. If you want to go really old school and go to N64 hardware, you can do that as well. We would love to have you. Tiki and I and Daisy Fan manage the boards. But if you're ever interested, just feel free to contact any one of us. Always love to help out anyone that's interested. And yeah, that's all I really got. And I'm gonna hit the bed soon because it's definitely a late one, but it was definitely well worth it.
Yeah. I hope you have a great night, Joe. So
you as well.
without further ado, we are moving back to intermission. We will be back shortly with the final staff commentary. So stick around for that. And yeah.
Enough stamina, you jump. You switch between warp to make your spikes appear and disappear, and you just have enough stamina to cross it all.